So we're going to be looking at how we're analyzing our line plots and how we're using the information to answer different questions and think about the data that's provided. So just a couple things to keep in mind is that when we create our line plots, the information is coming from these numbers. And then we are creating our number line based on the numbers. We need to make sure we have space for our smallest data point and our largest data point. And then we, as the graph makers, are constructing the number line and the pattern to put the data on. And then we place our x's. And it's important to remember that process because all of the numbers on this number line don't necessarily represent any data points. It's the x's that are representing each of the numbers placed onto the line plot. And so those x's are our data point and our information for us to analyze. The title is important. It gives you information. The key at the bottom identifying what these numbers on the number line represent are important. All of it working together is providing us with information. We're going to be talking about words like most and least and at least and fewest and all these different terms. We're going to be analyzing the smallest number of cousins in this case, or the largest number of cousins in this case, or we're going to be looking at which amount of cousins occurred the most. So all of these different types of questions, and it's important for you to analyze the question and to answer it, and then when you answer it, go back and look, does my answer match exactly what was being asked of me? Because there's not a lot of information in here. It's sorting through what information is the question looking for. When looking at this line plot, we can see that we have the size of students' shoes, and we have different numbers counting at a half pattern, and they are representing inches. So this is 10 inches, 10 and a half inches, and so on. And now we have our x's filling our line plot. And it's important to recognize exactly what these x's represent, because we are going to be asked questions about the x's and about the data at the bottom, or the graph at the bottom. Keep in mind that all of these x's are coming from a data point. So we know that all of these x's came from different numbers. So for example, in our data, we would have 5 tens that created those 5 x's, 3 11s, 4 11s, I apologize, 3 10 and a halves, going a little bit out of order, but it really doesn't matter, 1 11.5, 2 12s, and 1 13. And it's important to remember this. So when you're asked questions about students and their shoe sizes, these are the students. When you're asked questions about the biggest shoe size or the smallest shoe size, that's where your information is coming from. Our first question: what was the largest student shoe size recorded? Look at the chart and think about what your answer would be. Pause the video if you need more time. I'm going to share the answer. So when we look at this question, it's asking what was the largest student shoe size recorded. So this isn't asking about a number of students. This is asking about the size of the shoes. So I'm going to be using my number line to find my information. So I can see that the largest number I have is 13, and there is a student recorded there. So 13 would be my correct answer. 13 inches. Now, if this 13 weren't here, then we would go to 12 and a half, where there's no data, and then we would go to 12. So when we see largest student shoe size, that information is at the bottom. So that's where we're going to find our information, and then looking at the data at the top. Our next question, how many students had the smallest shoe size? Take a minute to try to figure this out. Pause the video. When you come back, I will be explaining the answer. So, when we look at this question, it's asking about the small shoe size. And I'm going to look at my data at the bottom, knowing that 10 is the smallest shoe size on this graph, and I see that I have data attached. If there were not any information with the 10, then I would move to the next shoe size. So I can simply see here that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students with the smallest shoe size. And just always reread the question to make sure you're answering the actual question that is being asked.